Everybody. Let's call to order this regular city council meeting for December 10th, 2024 for the city of Troutdale. If you wouldn't mind rising and joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, Sarah, let's take roll call, please, and thank you.
Okay. Counselor Ritma.
Here.
Counselor Caswell.
Here.
Counselor One.
Present.
Counselor White.
Here.
Counselor Wittrin.
Present.
Counselor Glantz.
She's here. I think she was on mute.
That's okay. And
Present.
Mayor Lauer.
Here, thank you. All right, do we have an agenda update, Mr. Ray Young?
No, Mr. Mayor, it is as written tonight.
All right, let's move on to agenda item number 2, public comment. Public comment on non-agenda and consent agenda items is welcome at this time. Public comment on agenda items will be taken at the time the item is considered. Public comment should be directed to the presiding officer and limited to matters of community interest or related to matters which may or could come before council. Each speaker shall be limited to 5 minutes for each agenda item unless a different amount of time is allowed by the presiding officer with consent of the council. The council and mayor should avoid immediate or protracted responses to citizen comment. If you are on Zoom and wishes to make public comment tonight, go ahead, unmute yourself, state your name and city of residence for the record, please.
Mayor Paul Wilcox.
Mr. Wilcox, thank you for joining. I would have considered it a loss if you were not here tonight on my last. Thank you, sir.
Of course. Paul Wilcox, Troutdale. This is something, a presentation I do every couple of years right after the elections. So I'll just go to it. I've routinely provided post-election analysis indicating how Troutdale as a whole has voted for candidates and measures in comparison to the county and state. I've already submitted a written narrative and spreadsheets, but those won't be publicly available until this meeting's minutes are published. In the meantime, I wanted to provide a very brief summary tonight. I do want to mention that this year I added Fairview and Wood Village as comparators as well. Troutdale, for the most part, went, quote, with the flow, so to speak. The only Troutdale divergent preferences for candidates were for state treasurer, Boquist over Steiner, and Attorney General Lathrop over Rayfield. However, for some of the other offices, the approval margins were less than 1%. On the measure side, Troutdale's preferences aligned with all the final results, whether the measure passed or failed. There were some disparities with measures 116 and 117. On measure 116, which proposed a compensation board for state officials, Multnomah County and Fairview supported, all others opposed. On measure 117, ranked choice voting, Multnomah County supported, but all other jurisdictions opposed. I dug out my spreadsheet for November 2022 and found that Troutdale didn't match nearly as often, disagreeing with the larger majority on 4 of 6 candidates and 5 of 12 measures. Another measure I took was what I call level of participation, which is the percentage of votes cast versus ballots returned. Not all voters make a selection for every candidate or measure choice. This ranged from 99% for president to 82% for mayor and 66% for city council. Measures were in the low 90s. And there you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. All right, anybody else on Zoom? All right. Anybody in council chambers tonight? Go ahead and approach the desk, state your name and city of residence for the record, please.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. My name is Adrian Kester, Troutdale resident, also on a number of volunteer committees, but speaking today as a private citizen, particularly as a resident on 4th Street. Talking today about the development of the Home Forward project, which thus far has been mostly in an interesting construction project to watch it develop outside my front door. I've been taking some pictures, so I have a nice little photographic record off my front porch of how it's been proceeding. And aside from a little bit of noise now and again, it's not been much of an irritation until the last 2 days, at which point the quantity of parked cars on 4th Street has exploded. This morning, I counted 12 to 13 cars that I did not recognize parked along the streets on 4th Street. This is, at least at that level, hopefully just an artifact of the construction itself, but it does not portend well for where that street could be once that complex is fully populated. So it will, I guess my notice and request to the city is to start thinking very, very early as to what mitigations can be taken to try to mitigate that prospect, both for the residents living on 4th Street, but also for the public works trucks that have to get in and out of there multiple times daily. So anyway, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, anybody else in council chambers tonight? Go ahead and approach the desk and state your name and city of residence for the record, please, and thank you.
Hello, I'm Diane Castillo-White, and I'm on 3 committees here in the city of Troutdale, which has been very enjoyable. I just wanted to thank Allison for bringing your talent, your business expertise, your compassion, your contributing to the beautification of Troutdale and helping visualize our history. So I just really appreciate you, and it's been fun watching you these last 4 years, and thank you for sharing your talent with us. Mr. Wittrin, thank you very much for your service. Sandy, being on 3 committees, I very much appreciate your attention and concern and your dedication in showing up to all the committees. As a committee member, I felt heard and seen, and that we mattered. And I'm saying people can look at the meetings and then still be caught up, but it was your concern and care for the city of Troutdale is very much noted. And then you already kind of knew what our heart and motive was before you even went to the meeting, and that was quite exceptional, and I highly appreciate that. So thank you so much. And Randy, thank you for these 4 years, these smooth meetings and hearing what everybody had to say. And it was a wonderful experience. And I thank you, and I really wish you all the best, because I know as exceptional you are here, that you're doing that at what you're currently doing as your business. And I just look forward to continue to watch you and continue to grow and thriving in that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Go ahead and approach the desk and state your name and city of residence for the record, please.
My name's Brad Wilson, Troutdale resident for 30 years. I'm a little nervous, so I apologize. I don't normally do these things. Recently retired. I've noticed, it's been 2 years now, and I live on South Troutdale Road, just before 21st Street. And I've been working with Mr. Young, who has been fantastic the whole time, because the county, I've also been talking to them since September, trying to get information on what classifies a residential road. Because as we are dealing with more and more traffic, we're running into situations where we've had really close calls trying to turn into our driveway or pull out of our driveway, but it's more turning into our driveway. And I know the other residents that kind of feel the same way that live on South Troutdale. There's 5 on between the 17th Street and 21st Street. There's 5 on the west side and 3 on the east side. So I can't seem to get the answer to that from anybody, but I'm looking for help on maybe changing the speed limit. It's
just past 17th Street, it's 25 miles an hour, and then across the street it switches to 35. I'd like to see them switch it down past just past 21st Street, move that to 25 miles an hour there, coming into Troutdale and switching it to 35 going towards Stark Street. And you have the school right there that's up on 21st Street. We have a lot of traffic issues with that. During the school year, you have a lot of people that pass on the shoulders because people are trying to turn in there. I've had numerous close calls where, and the only reason why I really brought this to the attention this time is I was waiting to turn into my driveway. I have a shared driveway with my neighbor. They were doing something. I couldn't turn in right away. There was 3 cars behind me. I was waiting to turn in, and as I went to turn in, a car passed me on the shoulder because he couldn't pass me on the other side, but he was 3 cars back, couldn't see my blinker. We've had numerous close calls because of multiple cars being behind us that don't realize what we're trying to do and try to either go around or, they just don't understand it. So the speed limit is out of control there, especially in the summertime. He did a survey about a week ago, for a few weeks ago. I believe it was an average of 41 miles an hour for around 80 to 83% of the drivers, which is justified, I guess, by Multnomah County, but I feel like that they're speeding, and I just would like to know how I can move this forward by submitting proposals, getting signatures from all the neighbors. Where do I go to get this looked at? Or how do I get this looked at? Instead of, I've talked to the police department. I understand their situation. I mean, they are understaffed. It's something that's been going on for a while, so we can't ask for more patrol. We tried to, but past when the Troutdale police were here, we had a lot more patrol. We see a lot of them sitting up there. I've maybe seen them in the last year 5 times. That's just very few, very minimal. So, and it's, I understand that situation. So I feel like the easiest solution would be to move the speed limit. And it's the cheapest solution in a way too as well. And I know there's probably a lot of hoops to jump through, but, I just would like to get some direction and maybe get the council's support on looking at doing this, because it is difficult for us that live on that main road with dealing with all the traffic. And in the summertime, it's really bad. I can't stress enough how bad it is in the summertime. So, but
Okay.
that's all.
Okay,
Thank
thank you, Mr. Wilson, I appreciate that.
Whoop, and I left my number on there. You need to get a hold of me. Plus Ray has
I
my
was gonna say Ray should be the one that you leave it
Yes.
with, but that's perfect.
I got the
Okay.
stuff, and just, Brad, for your benefit, I will discuss with Mayor-elect Dave Ritma about how he wants to proceed to present this to council for them to do an action on it.
Okay, and I again, fantastic. He was the only one that kept getting back to me every time.
Are you recording this, Sarah? Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Happy
Wilson.
holidays to all of you.
Thank you, you as well. Anybody else wishes to make public comment? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment. Let's move on to agenda item number 3, consent agenda. Counselor Wittrin, if you wouldn't mind reading agenda item number 3.
3.1 resolution, a resolution accepting the November 5th, 2024 general election results from the Director of Elections, Multnomah County, Oregon. And I will make a motion that we accept the consent agenda, 3.1 resolution.
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passes, thank you. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 4, public hearing ordinance. This ordinance was first introduced on the 12th of November. An ordinance adopting text amendments to chapters 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Appendix A of the Troutdale Development Code. Erica Palmer and Dakota Meyer, you have the floor. Dakota Meyer, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you, councilors. Alrighty, I will share my screen for my presentation. Come on, there it goes. All right, thank you all very much. My name is Dakota Meyer. I'm the Associate Planner here with the City of Troutdale. I will be presenting the staff report and for the proposed text amendment to the entire code, otherwise known as an omnibus of the Troutdale Development Code, under case file 75-16. Here's a zoning map just of the city with the request. The request is initiated by the city, and the city is the overall applicant. We are proposing to update several chapters of the Troutdale Development Code to bring clarity and uniformity to the current development code while correcting Scrivener's errors made from previous code amendments. Amendments are replacing sections inadvertently removed during previous code amendments, updating definitions, updating reference numbers, and basic uniformity edits. Here is kind of a bit of an overview of what's going on in each chapter. So in chapter 1, we'll be updating definitions and adding new definitions to the list. Chapter 3, we'll be adding the new gym definition to the use tables for MU1, MU1, MU2, and MU3 zones. We'll be adding the gym definition to our commercial zones for the CC and GC zones, along with special standards for entertainment facilities major. We'll be adding gym definition to our industrial zones for the IP, LI, and GI zones. Chapter 4, we will be fixing Scrivener's errors by adding tables that were inadvertently removed. Those tables from sections 4.230, 4.315, 4.316, 4.317, and 3.418. Or 4.318, and then update reference numbers to improve navigation. To continue. Furthermore, in chapter 5, we'll be fixing Scrivener's errors by adding tables inadvertently removed to sections 5.040 and 5.220. Chapter 6, we'll be updating reference numbers to improve navigation. Chapter 7, these are basic uniformity edits, writing out all numbers and then keeping the numbers in parentheses. We'll be doing the same in chapter 8. Chapter 9 is updating reference numbers to improve navigation. And then in Appendix A, we'll be updating reference numbers and replacing inadvertently removed sections. Here is a brief overview of what the proposed changes are. The proposed changes in Chapter 1 and land use tables in 3.220 and 3.320, 3.420. Here for the definitions, we are adding, this is an example of a definition that we are adding for EV charging stations. We don't currently have one, so bringing the code up to date with current terminology. And then as well as the new gym definition. On the right-hand side, you will notice that we add gym. We have a specific square footage designation that will also be added to the tables. The rest of the tables will be remaining the same. In chapter 4, we'll have sections 4.316, 4.317, and 4.318 replaced as they were inadvertently removed during the 2017 code amendment. There's also additional, so here we have the width corridor for our VECO standards. These are just examples. The tree mitigation within our VECO standards, these are all tables that were just inadvertently removed, as well as our food truck trailer kiosk tables. The proposed amendments, the remaining chapters 6, 7, 8, 9, and Appendix A will receive general uniformity. As I mentioned before, spelling out numbers, updating reference numbers, and general spelling errors. So here is an example showing how we're typing out the 1,400 and then keeping the number in parentheses. And then in Appendix A, for our signage, it was completely removed, as well as fixing chapter numbers where we no longer have a chapter 11, but it's still referenced throughout the code. We did have one public comment from Metro. Metro provided a comment to ensure the proposed amendment would comply with Title IV. The comment was concerns regarding the newly added gym use to the industrial zoned areas, specifically within the RISA zones, which are the regionally significant industrial areas. They requested that specific standards be added to the code to specify gyms are permitted, however, does not apply to the RISA designated areas. Here in the dark gray on the map, those are the RISA areas, so basically just the airport. City staff has added those additional standards to section 3.420, and it's just an additional line item. Proposed findings. The proposed findings that staff and planning commission all find are met are the proposed change of the development code does not conflict with the applicable comprehensive land use plan goals or policies. The proposed change is consistent with the applicable statewide planning goals. The proposed change is consistent with the applicable provisions of Metro Code. Public need is best satisfied by this particular change, and the change will not adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. As mentioned before, staff and planning commission find all of these findings, all these criteria have been met. The procedure for tonight's meeting. The procedure we will use to consider this request is a type 4 land use application. Planning Commission's authority is to make the formal recommendation to council. At the public hearing on October 30th, Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of the text amendment to City Council. City Council is the decision-making entity. All notices were provided as required by code. For council action, the action council is asked to take on this ordinance, at this ordinance adoption hearing, is to consider Planning Commission's recommendation, which is to approve the ordinance and the adoption draft of the development code in attachment A. Actions are on tonight's meeting are either to confirm, amend, or reverse Planning Commission's recommendation, enact or defeat all parts of the ordinance, remand some or all of the proposal back to Planning Commission. This concludes my presentation. I'm ready for any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council before I open up the public hearing? Dakota, if I could have the screen back also. Councilor Whitman.
Just that the presentation you made was a really good summary of what's happening. And I don't think it was in the packet that I saw, and I just wondered if that could be shared with the council. Please.
Definitely.
Any other comments or questions from council? All right. If nothing further, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Public hearing's now open on agenda item number 4, ordinance adopting text amendments to chapters 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Appendix A of the Troutdale Development Code. If you'd wish to make comment regarding this agenda item, go ahead on Zoom and unmute yourself, state your name and city of residence for the record, please.
Mayor Lauer, Paul Wilcox, Troutdale.
Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Mayor. To save this for your second hearing, because I figure if I'd done it a month ago, you might have forgotten what I said. So here's the one for your decision night. I'm speaking as a member of the Planning Commission, but do not represent them. The major reason I recommended against adoption by council of the omnibus package is the inclusion of obsolete language that is no longer in effect under Chapter 9, 9.010 in particular. And more specifically, the language regarding parking requirements for multifamily housing, which reads, multifamily dwelling, 2 spaces per dwelling unit plus 1 space per 3 dwelling units for guest parking. This requirement has been superseded by CFEC regulations, which are now in effect and apply to all new applications. In fact, there was one recently reviewed by Planning Commission that the CFEC rules related to directly. The applicant was not aware of the revised requirements, responded to that section in their narrative as if the posted language applied. Well, this was perhaps only a 5-minute or less calculation. It was one that was irrelevant and unnecessary. When an applicant is asked to respond to requirements that are no longer in effect, it might lead them to think that staff doesn't have their act together, especially when notified after the fact. I haven't heard a real-world explanation from staff as to why that language is being retained in the code.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Anybody else on Zoom wishes to make comment? All right, anybody in council chambers tonight? Okay, I'm gonna close public hearing. Any comments or questions from staff, or from council? Councilor White?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank staff and our planning commission for taking on this big project. And, you know, a lot of cities end up adopting a model ordinance or relying on the state, or they hire consultants. So they save the city a great deal of money, and they actually have the expertise to pull this off. And I thought they did a really good job. I wanted to pass that on.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions from council? Anything on Zoom? Counselor Glantz?
Quick question. What is the reason that we are using the old parking standard? Is that to basically get all these, the code caught back up to where it needed to be and then address that? Because isn't there like a series of choices we can make on how parking works and can be expanded?
Yes, so the reason why we haven't added that is that's going to be its own code amendment as a whole. To add it into an omnibus would make this even longer than it already is. And it's also a very complex, the CFEC standards are very complex. So it's easier to have that as a separate code amendment, which we have to have adopted by June of 2025. During that, we still have several work sessions with Planning Commission to pick that is correct, we will be picking how we want to go about applying those standards. There's kind of two avenues that we could go through. So we're still working through that process with Planning Commission through work sessions. And then once we get to the point where we can have formulate a full code amendment, then we'll go back to Planning Commission for hearing and then go through the code amendment process. But we're just not there yet. And so a mixture of, we haven't had enough of the conversations with Planning Commission. And then on top of that, it's going to be a very complex code amendment that we would like to have separate, so it's easier to read, easier to follow.
I could add that we are tracking on the 4th Tuesday of January or the 2nd Tuesday in February to update council specifically on the CFEC changes that will be coming down the pike. So we're going to take a process where we're going to educate, talk about it before we bring anything on that, but it will have to be done, as Dakota said, by June.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? All right, well, if there's no comments or questions.
I move adoption of an ordinance adopting text amendments to chapters 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Appendix A to the Troutdale Development Code.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Counselor Wittrin. All right, Sarah.
Counselor Caswell.
Yes.
Counselor One.
Yes.
Mayor Lauer.
Yes.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Wittrin.
Yes.
Counselor Glantz.
Yes.
Counselor Rittman.
Yes.
All right, passes. Thank you, Dakota.
Thank you all very much.
Yes. Thank you, Erica, for your work on this as well. Appreciate it. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 5, an update from the Public Safety Services Delivery Working Group. Mr. Ray Young.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a relatively short update. The details, of course, it's a public meeting and we're in contract negotiations with both of those contracts. But first of all, the Public Safety Working Group met on November 25th to discuss the two contracts and talk about the progress. Then the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office contract subgroup met on December 2nd to discuss a couple spots in our offer to fine tune that, which was followed up by an email to each of the members regarding our current offer we're going to make back to the sheriff's office. So we worked through those issues, and for the sheriff's office contract, that offer sheet, I've not heard any negatives after fixing it a couple of times and sending it circulating among the subgroup. So I think we're good to go on our offer sheet. The law enforcement coverage that we're going to offer to the sheriff's office is consistent with what we've talked about in the Public Safety Working Group and updated council on before. And Ed and I were the designated individuals to actually go to the sheriff's office and negotiate directly with them. And we're looking for their response to meet with them on December 20th to lay down what we think is appropriate in terms of costs and FTE. And so that will hopefully be on December 20th. So that's the status where we're at with the sheriff's office contract. On the fire, that's been more among staff at this point. The three cities have been working together since we're all together in the same contract. And so we've had several meetings in the last month with the city of Gresham. We have another meeting with the city of Gresham on December 20th in the morning to discuss with them our response to their offer. We are essentially looking at the contracts with a different methodology. Gresham, for the first time in how we have generated the cost for the fire service, they're saying, oh, we should just base it on per capita costs, and the citizens of Troutdale, Wood Village, and Fairview should pay the exact per head costs that the Gresham residents pay, which is different than we've done it in the past. As you're aware, the first response to that is, well, we don't get the same fire department that the Gresham residents do, so we should not pay the same. The second thing is that the base rate for the 2015 till now contract was generally based upon, since Gresham already has to have a fire department, what are we actually adding to their budget to cover the three cities? And that was kind of the basis for the base rate that we started in 2015. And we've tracked Seth over at Wood Village, their finance director. He went through the last 10 years and compared what that last contract showed the citizens of the three cities were paying as a portion of what the Gresham residents were paying. And it is averaged somewhere between 65 to 70 cents on the dollar the three cities have been paying for fire service versus the residents of Gresham. It's gotten a little lower in the last year. Costs with inflation have gone up, and they had to pass their new bond levy to just shore up their fire department. But generally, we're going to go back to Gresham and say, no, we don't pay the same because we don't get the same fire department. And second of all, the methodology has generally been, what more does it cost you to do this? And it's to average out about 70 cents on the dollar to what that per capita rate would be. So not to bore you with all the details, but that's the thought process is that we've been going through and dealing with that. And as soon as we get with the city of Gresham and give them that, and we can bracket down where we seem to be at in terms of negotiation, that's probably the time we're going to bring in a negotiating committee from the council to take it from there. But we want to make sure we get close enough in the ballpark that we're not just way far apart and wasting people's time. So, Mayor, that's the status of the two contract negotiations.
Any comments or questions from council? Well, shoot. You did a great job.
I was going to make a comment, Godspeed.
Exactly. Okay, thank you, sir. Let's move on to agenda item number 6, staff communications.
Thank you, Mayor. Number one, our next meeting will be without 4 of you. All right, so our next meeting will be January 14th. We will not be meeting on the fourth Tuesdays a month, because that's going to be Christmas Eve, and nobody wants to be here Christmas Eve. So January 14th is the next meeting for Councilor 1, soon to be Mayor Ritma, and Councilor White. Will be happening then. Second of all, there's a new ethics law, and I guess I'm only talking to those of you returning, which requires during your term, you have to take a 2.5-hour ethics class. So after the first year, Sarah's going to get you the details on how to do that. You can do it remotely online. You don't have to go to Salem. So that's new requirements coming down the road. Number 3, as usual, will be closed on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So the city offices will be closed on those days. 4, a short report, tree lighting was very well attended. I want to thank Mayor Lauer and Mayor-elect Ritma. We're both there on stage, and it was a good crowd. It was a little rainy, a little cold, but not as bad as it has been before. So it was a good event. And so we really appreciated the support from the citizens and the council for putting on that event. It came across really well. We have one more Christmas event coming up. On December 21st, we are having Merry Movie Night, which we do up at the high school. And this year's movie is called Rise of the Guardians. And I had to look that one up. Well, how's it related to Christmas? Well, it stars Santa Claus, Jack Frost, the Easter Bunny, and it's supposed to be a great movie. So I'm sure kids will appreciate it more than I might have, so.
Still no Die Hard, huh?
Yes, no Die Hard, because we're still not sure if Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. That debate is raging still. I go with, yes, it's a Christmas movie. But anyway, so that'll be on December 21st. And the last thing, Mayor, and this is, I don't mean to, well, I'm ending on a sad note. Aaron McNally has been an employee for over 18 years in our water department. Loved by staff, citizens. I always hear citizens say how good he was to explain to them what's going on with their water system. And so, who was known as Mick, some of you may have heard him as Mick. He passed away 10 days ago. Mick has been struggling with cancer over the last couple of years, and he worked all the way to the end with the city. So it's the first time I can recall we actually lost a current employee to death. It was sad. They had a memorial for him at a pizza joint. He would have liked that last Monday night. And so we're all gonna miss Mick, and he's no longer obviously, he's here. So anyway, that's just a sad note to let people know that they won't see Mick on the streets anymore.
He was a great example of dedication. I worked with him for almost 4 years here at the city of Troutdale in the water department when I first came over back in 2008, 2009. He was from Detroit. He had family in Detroit. He moved here, and he always talked about his family's poutine recipe. And his mom would ship him, if you don't know what poutine is, look it up, it's terrible. But he loved it. And he'd bring it and this frozen block, and he would not ever share it with anybody. Because it was his tradition, his family's tradition, his mom's cooking. And I tried for years to get a bite of it. He would never give it up. So he was a great guy. He taught me a lot about, like I said, dedication, work ethic, and what it meant to give yourself to the community. So it speaks a lot, but it's not surprising that he worked up until the end. He had a long fight with cancer, so it was a sad day to learn that of his passing. So my thoughts are with the Public Works Department and all the other city employees that got to work with Mick. So thank you. All right, let's move on to council communications. Mayor-elect Ritma.
Well, I'll wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year. That's all.
Councilor One.
I have two things. Let's see if I can bring it up. I had to write it down. First, I wanted to say just a thanks to our water department. I had an interaction with a citizen who was very pleased with our water department. Noticed that they had a leak. Water department contacted them, let them know, gave them credit, came in, they were just on top of it, and they could not have been more thrilled with just the interaction and just how on top of it the water department was, and just attributed that to our city and just had really nice things to say. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody. I thought that was pretty awesome. And then I just had a little something that I wanted to say to everybody, so I wrote it down. Okay. So as we gather to celebrate leadership and reflect on our accomplishments, I just want to take a moment to express my gratitude to our outgoing council members, Allison, Sandy, and Jordan. Each of you has brought unique perspectives, dedication, and passion to this council, and I've truly appreciated all of our time together and the thoughtful discussions we've shared. Through collaboration and a shared commitment to our community's success, I believe that we have made a meaningful and lasting impact. Your contributions have helped steer the city towards a brighter future, and I know the community is better for it. As you step away from this role, please carry with you the knowledge that your work here has made a difference. Thank you for your service and for the friendships we've built along the way. I look forward to seeing the continued impact you'll have in what other paths you choose next. And then today we can celebrate the contribution of an exceptional leader, our outgoing mayor, Mayor Lauer. So on a personal note, I want to thank you for the way you've made me feel welcome and supported as I stepped into my role as a member of the City Council. Your guidance and encouragement have helped me grow not only as a City Council member, but also as a more engaged and effective advocate for our community. You have a unique gift for inspiring confidence and collaboration, and that has meant so much to me. Your passion for our city has left a lasting legacy that will continue to benefit Troutdale for generations. And as you move on to your next endeavors, I know your impact here will not be forgotten. On behalf of, I'm going to say the entire City Council and our community, thank you for your service, your dedication, and for being a true mentor and friend. So I would like to give everybody, let's give a heartfelt round of applause to Mayor Lauer for all that you have done.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Councilor White?
Yeah, I wanted to say something to the outgoing counselors and of course you, Randy, but I'll start with Jordan Whitren. I sat right next to him every meeting. I valued your planning background coming in. I know you served on other committees. And I know there's a cost in doing the council. It takes away from your family time, your personal time, work time, hobby time, so I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
And then Allison, I'll always remember you for your bravery and taking on the cleanup of the homeless camps and trying to make their lives better out there. And that's one of the things that really stood out with you. And you've always been brave and spoke your mind. So I really value that. And Sandy, I give you the award for most prepared counselor ever. So
Ever.
I thought I was good at going to meetings, especially when they're quasi-judicial, where there's a chance that they're going to come before us. And it's, to me, such an advantage to see like how the planning commission deals with it before it comes to us. And you took that to heart, and you really added a lot to the council by doing that, because I always learned from the questions you asked, and you had a different angle of attack often than I did, but it was very valuable. So I'll always thank you for that, and I hope we haven't seen the last of you. And who was that leave? Randy Lauer. I think for Randy, he had a particularly big challenge with COVID, and he did a good job navigating through that. It was the closest thing I ever saw to martial law. And Randy just took it in stride, and a lot of bravery, and he defended our city and stood up for our rights. And I think we survived it better than a lot of other cities. So I always will remember that about you, Randy. And I wish you the greatest success, and you already are successful, so continue.
Thank you,
That's all I have.
appreciate it.
And Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and Happy New Year. And welcome to the incoming council as well.
Absolutely. Councilor Whitron?
I will just say that not being here will be missed. As much as I'm gonna want to raise my voice and speak my mind and be there for the citizens of Troutdale, it's gonna be greatly missed. But I do have to echo that, Randy, you've been a great mayor and great leader, and had a focus on our direction. And I took a lot away from you, and I appreciate everything you've done. And aside from that, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody, and I hope all of Troutdale just has a great holiday.
Thank you. Councilor Caswell?
Yeah, it's been a privilege, and I hope that each one of you know that you're really quality people working together. And it's been really nice to work with people who put so much are prepared and really think and are intentional about coming together and making some important decisions. And we have made quite a few like really big lasting decisions. And I think we've navigated all of those really well. So yeah, thank you all for your nice words. I appreciate it. And like I said, it's been a privilege. So thank all of you.
Thank you, Allison. Counselor Glantz.
Yep, I just want to thank everyone that I've had the pleasure to work with. Everyone's been great, and I kind of echo what a lot of folks have said, that I think we were able to have conversations rather than arguments, which in this day and age is quite the accomplishment. And I think a lot of that came from you, Mayor Lauer, just kind of keeping everybody, with guardrails on the side of, nope, that's too far, come back in. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. I want to thank Ray and Sarah and everybody else that helps us look good. And happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you very much, Sandy. So I took the time to write something down. It's not long, so don't worry. I'm not going to make you sit through an hour speech. But I did take the time to write down my thoughts. So as I close out my time serving on the City Council, I just wanted to take a moment to reflect and express my heartfelt gratitude to my fellow councilors sitting and the ones that aren't here anymore, except for one that's here in council chambers tonight, Rich Allen. Your dedication and hard work have been critical to everything we've accomplished. While we didn't always agree, our shared commitment to Troutdale's success kept us moving forward. It's been an honor to serve alongside all of you. To the elected leaders around the region or around East County, your leadership and willingness to collaborate have been inspiring. Together, we've faced lots of challenges head on and found solutions that benefit not just Troutdale, but the entire region, all for the benefit of our community. To the citizens who step up every single moment they volunteer on our city committees, your passion and commitment have been invaluable. Troutdale is stronger because of your willingness to get involved and to make your voices heard. To our incredible city staff, the ones here, and then the ones that are at home, not here, you are the backbone of this city. Your professionalism, dedication, and expertise have made Troutdale what it is today. We are so fortunate to have such an exceptional team working for this community. And finally, to my loving wife, without her support, I could have never given as much as I did to this city. She stood by me through the long nights, the tough decisions, and everything in between. So I just wanted to say, even though she's not here, typical. Thank you for being my rock and my greatest supporter. She's everything that I am not and everything I aspire to be. As I step aside, I'm confident Troutdale is on the right track. We've built strong momentum over the years, and I hope the new council will carry that forward, staying focused on the future and continuing to move Troutdale towards its incredible potential. But as I leave, I ask one thing: don't remember me. Remember the work that we've done together, because no one person is greater than the community they serve. So thank you for the opportunity to serve. It has been an honor of a lifetime. With that, I adjourn. I move we adjourn.
I'll second it. Point of order.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, everybody, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Have a good evening and Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, everything. Thank you very much.